Okay, here we are. Got some tools out, got some penguins out. Gonna protect the penguins over here on the side. Move this out and pay attention to this right now. This is a pin. Obviously, it's out. The blade is out of the scales. When I got it, I jumped into it right away and took a couple of stills. So I'll drop them in here and you can see what the condition was. So basically what we have is the Sheffield blade with this bizarre toe. This is actually sharpened up here. Very pointy. So somebody must have intended this to cut up, like to do this type of thing. So the scales are toast. They're horn. They have some nice inlay, but they're literally toast. Too much delam, too much, bug bite stuff going on over here. They're really dry, really crumbly. So basically what I did was I grabbed my flush cutters, cut the pin. That's that. So they will probably go in the trash. This cleaned it up a little bit. I don't know how much more cleaning I'm going to give it. I kind of like very rustic blades. I don't like that polished stuff. I don't like spending a lot of time sanding, and I don't like using greaseless. So I figured I'd make a shorty, right? Which means I have to sort of give it this type of profile over here if I want a French point. I mean, I definitely have to cut it to here. I could leave it a little more square, but I did want to go with more of a French point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to show you how I do that. This is like a test block. See all the holes? I mean, some of the holes are actually, they have purpose. But for this particular task, what I'm going to do is just use this block as a little support base. Tape this down. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying this is how I do it. Okay, now I taped up here, so when the blade cuts through the cutting disc, that does not become a projectile. Always wear glasses. Always wear glasses. Most people will tell you to wear gloves. I don't. Subsequently, I get cut, so you should probably wear gloves. So anyway, so this is basically, it's like a Dremel, except it's made by Milwaukee. I got it on sale. It was fairly inexpensive. Very good unit. Has a battery on the bottom that I can have two of them, so if one goes down I can replace. They charge quick. So anyway, so this is a cutting disc. I actually started using these a million years ago to cut holes in chassis for tube amplifiers so I could put sockets in, IEC connectors and all types of stuff. Anyway, so I use them also for working on razors. First thing, see the arrow? That means that indicates the rotation of the disc. The direction of rotation is important. You want the rotation to come to the spine, right? You do not want the rotation to come to the edge, because if it comes to the edge, it's going to grab it and it's going to throw a piece in your face and it's going to shatter the blade. But when it comes from behind, so to speak, see the direction? It's coming this way. How do you know? You grab it, turn it on, and you can feel it. You know, I marked this just for the video. That's really not usually there. Just for illustration, folks. So anyway, so speed I have this on is a little bit over 1. And when you turn it on, you get a little, there's 4 LEDs here. Show you battery strength. When you want to start to do stuff, you really do want a full battery. Ramp up the speed. Watch the heat. Not too hot. Fine. Okay, so you don't want to go too fast because you can bind and break these things. This one's old. I've been using it for over a year. When I first started, I used to buy like 10 of these at a time. I used to break them like every 5 minutes. Now I got like the touchdown, and I know what I can get away with. So while that demonstration wasn't perfect because I'm having trouble seeing over my microphone, I wasn't as clean with the cutting as I like to be, but it doesn't matter because I was past the Sharpie. What I'm going to do now, right, this was just to relieve that ridiculous point, right? It's not that hot. So I was never in danger of damaging the temper. And so I'm going to use the existing flat on the spine. It's part of my design. And I'm going to follow sort of that curve. I'm going to do it by eye. I don't have any jigs or anything, and I don't really have the right tools. So what I'm going to use is an old Craftsman grinder. I'm going to do it outside. I mean, technically, I could probably just get a file on this and then just leave it this way. No, it'd be all right. But I kind of have my heart set on sort of a French point, and I want to dress this back a little bit and make it look a little less like ass. So that's my goal with this. So anyway, so that's the first step. Next video, you'll see me grinding this down to give it a little shape to the toe. All right? Talk to you soon. All right, so you're probably wondering what's going on because I was just showing you this, right? So I got the Sheffield out and I was working on it, and then I forgot. I have this Solingen. This is a Bismarck, and I have a lot of looseness up here at the pivot. More importantly, I have a lot of crud and corrosion and some rust up in here. I don't want to go at this pin with a pair of side cutters or flush cutters. So I have my piercing saw out. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to go at it gently. I realize this is kind of boring. And then that happens. Blades. The blades are annoyingly held in place by a little tiny piece of wire. Okay, so the blades have a flat at each end. They go into these toothed sections that have lock nuts on them, and you just lock them down. Now, you'll see I have a little bit of wear on the blade here, which is really only up in the gold. I do it on the back. But what it does is gets me unpinned without breaking vintage bone scales. So for that, to me, it's worth the price of admission. So, all right, all I got to do now is clean these up, clean this out, repin. It's got the old, what we call Dovo pins. So I have a bunch of them. So I'll just knock that into there, and I'll have a really clean, very nice, beautiful Bismark with gold wash to hone up. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. We're going to try and grind a quasi-French point onto this old Sheffield. What we have here is my old Craftsman grinder. I have some water with some ice to quench, well, not quench, but cool off the blade. If I heat it up, I'm probably not going to get it that hot. But I'm indoors today. I chose to do it indoors, which is not ideal because it's sort of rainy and sort of cold outside, and I kind of have a cold. So there's that. I also have my spritz bottle handy, and I'm going to spritz down some water here because sparks will fly. This is cardboard. It could, theoretically, it could go up in flames, but I'm going to try to not do that. It's not going to happen. I've done this a million times down here. It's just not ideal. So I'm going to turn it on. And here we go. Oh, yeah. Safety. Wearing goggles. I don't usually wear a glove, but I'm doing it for this video because I think it's a good idea. So if you remember, I'm working with the flat that's already there. There's already some grinding that had been done. The rotation of the disc is toward me. I want the blade down in this orientation. Never rely on the sticker. Always test the wheel. Make sure you know what you're dealing with. If I was to make a mistake and put this like this and put the blade up into the rotation, forget about it. The thing would shatter. I'd wind up with steel stuck in my neck or worse. Always check temperature of the steel. It was not near critical temp, but you know, as I put tape on the blade, 2 layers just in case there's some sort of accident. I mean, let's face it, this thing is spinning fast enough. If it was to catch this and drive it into my finger, I'm probably still going to get hurt. You just want to minimize the possibility. So I grind more up on the top. If you start grinding down towards the toe first, the very tip, you're going to wind up having issues. I've learned this through experience. You can see the French point's starting to take shape, right? It's looking pretty good already, I think. And you see, up here, my grinding is smooth, but then it comes up on the previous effort. So I want to try and yeah. It's kind of sheep's footy, don't you think? But I tell you the truth, I kind of dig it. Took off the bar over here. So, you know, I'm going to leave it, right? I'm just going to file it down from here. The transition from the front up to the top has been smoothed out. A little file work will make it better, and then some sanding will take it out. Here's the rule. Once you take it off, you can't get it back on. But I think this is totally doable. All right, so that's it for the grinding lesson. All right. Razors are done. Well, as done can be for now. The Bismark came out really nice. Cleaned all that stuff in the pivot out. Put in new thrust washers. Put in a new pin. Cleaned up a little bit, but I wanted to leave the handling patina on it. The tension is good, keeps the blade open, closes on center. Very nice. This one, though, which was the actual project, turned out to be a little more work than I wanted. And it's a very interesting little blade. The only stamp, the only engraving says silver steel. It's a stub tail, early 1800s. Very slim blade, not too much of a grind, maybe 1/8 to 1/4 hollow. But it's in these scales now. Centers, closes easy. I put in a little bit of a support block in the bottom that will help get, these are 1/32 inch G10 that is really for a liner. But I've been making scales out of it because G10 is like indestructible, but they are also a little tiny bit bendy. So I put that in, and that kind of helps. I use the original scale to make like a template, so I have the original styling, which is that, late 1700s kind of look to it. Closes well, shape is nice, handles perfectly for a stub. It's actually a little more comfortable than usual. Usually with a stub, this hollow in here is a little problematic for me because I have big fingers. But this one, scales and the way everything laid out, that short tail isn't really causing me any discomfort or presenting any type of need to have a workaround or change my hole or whatever. So there's that. Another thing about the tail line, it's got a very nice detail. It's like a little point, which I thought was like interesting. Silver steel, it's one of those things that people stamped on razors. India steel is another. There's all types of engravings. Back in those days, you could write whatever you wanted. It was just advertising. It didn't mean anything. Silver steel was an alloy that Faraday worked on. And Faraday did believe that some razors used silver steel, although he had nothing to back that up. Personally, what I think is he was hopeful and didn't know, and that's that. Because I think back in those days, if somebody was using his alloy, that he would know who it was, and there would be some kind of documentation, not this vague ambiguity. Same thing with the India steel, all of that. They all just use like a typical carbon tool steel. Today, silver steel means something. It means mild tool steel. That's what that means. But back when this was made, this was just sort of an illusion. It's kind of cool. Whatever. Anyway, so that's just a little, rework, restore, refurbish type of video. I just wanted to throw that together. This isn't honed yet, and I could have taken this for, that's the wonderful thing about this stuff. Like, my investment on this is very low. Got a lot of return on it. I could take it further. I could polish the scales more. I could have used a different scale material. I could have went out and got some horn and recreated the original. All right. This was just a pin replacement, so it almost doesn't count in the video sense, but I mean, it's still a valid concern because it's a great razor. Anyway, but back to this. That's the wonderful thing about restoration is you can take it wherever you want to, and when you're done, you're not necessarily done. You can go back. Like if I want to like polish this blade, I pull out this pin, I take the blade out, I sand it down some more, maybe get some greaseless, whatever, go at it, bring it up to a mirror polish. I don't like that. People do. But what I'm trying to get across here is that just because you finish the project doesn't mean you're absolutely finished. You can go back and take it to another level. You can change the scales. You can change the pin. You can change the wedge. On this, the wedge is more of a spacer than a wedge. There is some angle to it, but basically it's a double layer of this material. So it's a 1/16 of an inch. I have it all crazy glued in, and then I pinned it. Crazy glue isn't great for, well, I don't really use crazy glue. I use this stuff. But whatever, it's CA glue, and it's not really waterproof, so I always put a pin in just to hold everything together in case the glue lets go. Anyway, so that's the thing about restorations, just because like you got to one level, that doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can change, you can alter everything. But anyway, so for me, it's about having fun. So I had some fun. If you want to do some restorations, pick up a couple of old blades, keep your expectations low in the beginning. There's some pitfalls, there's some hurdles, there's a learning curve. You'll get used to it. I made a couple of mistakes with this. I glued my finger to a piece of G10, so lost a little bit of skin, got a little bit of blood out of it, but hey, whatever, it's all good. So listen, that's it for now. Always remember, this is all about having a good time, enjoying what you're doing, and having fun. So take care, have fun, talk to you soon.